Today, I have a message, and I've called it, What Do You Have in Your House? And the SPS, with God, faith can move mountains. Please turn with me to 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 4, and we'll read verses 1 and 2. 2 Kings 4, 1 and 2. Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, that's the great prophet Elisha, saying, Thy servant my husband is dead, and you know that your servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. And Elisha said unto her, What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what do you have in your house? And she said, Your handmaid has nothing in the house except a pot of oil. No, she had a serious problem. She was about to lose her 2 sons, maybe for as long as 7 years, because I think that's the length of time in that culture that a person was taken as a bondman. Her husband was gone. Who would help her during that time? And apart from the help, who wants to lose your son for 7 years? When you have a problem like hers, a pot of oil cannot solve it. And maybe 10 pots of oil cannot solve it. But we are blessed with many possessions which we sometimes do not realize. We overlook. Sometimes we think they're too small to be given any sense of importance. Some we may not even notice or remember because they seem valueless. Like the coin that your uncle left with you when he visited last. Or the kettle that your wife's mother passed on to her, because you think, well, she just wants her to have something to remember me by. But these things, though material blessings, they could turn out to be very valuable. They could be collector's items. Even so, they're still material. Now, she remembered that pot of oil because that was the only material thing of value that she had. The only thing that she felt could help. She knew it wasn't enough to help in the case that she had, but it was all she had. And when she was asked, that's the first thing that she remembered. Because they're easily seen. Material things you can see. You know you have it. But was that all she had in her house? No, it wasn't. She had a trump card, and she actually knew it. Because she was a woman who knew the Lord. She was the wife of one of the sons of the prophets. Now the prophets were very blessed men. God filled them with His Spirit, and He sent them to take care of the people, to teach the people, to bring His messages, and to make them understand the importance of following those messages. They were very powerful. He gave them the power to do miracles, to do the type of things that would help people. Then remember that these wives of the prophet, they were carefully chosen and sent by God to help the prophet in his work. Not just cook and clean for him, but to help him, to talk to him, to to show him what God had shown them. She had to bring up her children, and they had to be brought up right, because the children of the sons of the prophets could not just do any old thing and get away. They had to be properly trained. They had to know what they were doing. They had to be brought up right. And the wives that were chosen for these prophets were chosen very carefully. So, she had a trump card. What was her trump card? What was her trump card? What was she? What did she have? What did she know that she did not mention when she was asked the question, what do you have in your house? Now these wives, these ladies were expected to continue to live up to that standard of living after the death of a husband. It didn't stop. They were still there with their children and still had to teach them. And even the community, the people of the community, looked to them when they had a problem. When they had a problem to be solved and they needed help. When something got them down and they needed to be encouraged and strengthened, they looked to these women as well. They were highly acclaimed in the community. So they assisted in advising and helping and giving people a greater satisfaction of life and more zeal to persevere and overcome. She was in distress, but she trusted and believed that this man of God, this prophet of God, was able to help. She didn't come wondering if he could help her. She knew this prophet of God could help her. She came to him in confidence, expecting the help. She was not surprised at what he had to say next. Let's go on to the next two verses. 2 Kings 4, verse 3 and 4. Then he said to her, go borrow thee vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels, and borrow not just a few. He said, borrow as many as you can find. Something big was about to happen. And when you come in, you shall shut the door upon you and your sons, and you shall pour out into all those vessels, and you shall set aside the ones that are full. So that's the order. You have one pot of oil. Your order is take that pot of oil and fill all the other pots that she had borrowed from all her neighbors and her friends. She did not stop to ask, how could one pot of oil fill more than one of the other pots? She didn't stop to say, I don't think it could happen. I think we need a little more than that. What is the man of God saying to me? Don't I need a little more? She didn't say that. Her sons didn't say it. And this is showing that she had that strength. She had that belief. She had that knowledge. In her house, she had a pot of oil. But in her heart, she had the love of God. She had the strength of belief. She had the knowledge that the man of God had the power to help. She did not know how, but she knew that the power of God can do anything. And she also knew that although one pot of oil would not normally fill up more than one other pot, she knew this was a special time. And she knew that God answers prayers and petitions. And she knew that he does it in his time and in his way. He took care of the weak and the helpless. And she knew that if her request at this time was not granted, and she was not able to get the things that she wanted then, that didn't bother her. Because she also knew God works at his pace. And what was the outcome? The outcome was that she was so greatly blessed. She was so greatly blessed. Her problems were solved. Let's go on to verse 5. So she went from him, shut the door, no questions asked. I'm going to do what this man of God told me and see what happens, see what turns out. She shut the door upon her and her sons, who had brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. She just poured out. And it came to pass when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet another vessel. And he said unto her, There is not another one. The vessels were all filled, and the oil stopped. Then she came and told the man of God, and he said, Go, sell the oil, and pay your debt, and live, you and your children, of the rest. A minute ago, she didn't know what to do. She had a big problem about to lose her children. Now all of a sudden the problems are solved, because that's how God works. God can do it in a minute, he can do it in 10 years. It depends on what's right for the individual. So brethren, I have one question for all of us today. All of us, not you, but all of us. What do we have in our house? What do we have in our house? Apart from the physical pot of oil, which would be like the nice clothes, the nice car, the furniture, the nice kitchen sets and all the rest of it, all are physical blessings. What else do we have? Do we have we also have to have a spiritual pot of oil, like this lady did. She had a spiritual pot of oil which helped her in the time of need. And no matter how small that pot might be, like hers was, it may not have been small as a pot of oil, but it was small as an item that would solve her problems. No matter how small, it is always enough when the Lord sends it. We do not see miracles before our eyes today, like God doesn't say, okay, I'm going to move this mountain so that the children of New York will see. He works differently today than he worked with his people, Israel, back at that time. But sometimes we see the miracles not really realizing it. When we compare yesterday's need, today's abundance. Yesterday's need to today's abundance. It stuns us. And we say that's a little miracle. I was in such great need yesterday. And today it's all solved, it's all gone. Now I can relax a little. That cancer that the doctors told us it's impossible, we can't solve it now, you came too late, you're at stage 4. Prepare to die. And all of a sudden it's gone, and the doctor said, but what happened? We have never seen this before. We have never seen someone come this far gone and still get well. Or that item which it was impossible for us to buy. We needed it for so long, and now it's really important and we wish we had it. And we just don't have the money to buy it. and all of a sudden, we received it with no cash. We received it with no cash. And that's the way God works. And those are all spiritual blessings. Those are all material blessings from our spiritual pots of oil. And brethren, I'd like to say that if we don't have one, if we don't have a spiritual pot of oil, we need to work on that. We need to try to get one. We need to petition our Father to let us have that pot of oil so that we can be prepared for serious emergencies that might come.